I'm Ruth Nankabirwa. I am the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. This includes oil and gas. From Uganda.
From Uganda?
Yes. I am married with children.
7 children?
7 children.
Good enough. Lieutenant General Peter Pearson, and that's really it. I was in the British Army for 35 years, have been out for a further 15, and now do things like talk to people about leadership. I'd like, if I may, to ask anybody, if you're at the C-suite level in your company, would you like to put your hand up so I can just see? Good. I'm at least talking to some. You put your hand up, sir.
You have to elaborate C-suite.
Oh, C-suite. Up at the board level, CEO level, that sort of thing. Okay. I've been asked to speak on leadership and also strategic planning at that level. But actually, when you start to talk about leadership, it doesn't matter what level you're at. The person who is leading is still leading. And therefore, what I have to say in under 10 minutes, does that mean I've finished? No. All right. I got a short period of time, and clearly in less than 10 minutes I'm not going to be able to talk to you about a lot of things. But I hope that we'll be able to define leadership a little bit, and definitely to help you understand the interface between leadership and management, some of whom people get mixed up with those two for some reason. And I'll end by talking about what good leaders do, which is probably the most important thing, and we've heard some of that this morning already. So let's get away with, I probably ought to ask you to write down your definition of leadership, but I won't do that because it's going to take us far too long. But if you were to consider your definition of leadership, I think every single one of us in here would write down a different definition of leadership. And the fact of the matter is that, like notions of freedom or love, leadership is something that there is no right and wrong. What you think is your definition of leadership will be every bit as good as mine. There's no prescription for leadership. There's no prescription for any style of leadership. I think it was Field Marshal Slim who once said that leadership is just plain you. And sure it is, because we all do it in a different way. But I hope, and we haven't heard much of it until just the last speaker today, I hope in your definition of leadership, the word people comes in there somewhere. Quite often in business you hear the word money, but actually you should be listening more out for the word people. Because, and it may be the stating of the obvious, leaders lead people and managers manage resources, one of which of course is people, but that's a separate issue. So if you remember that leaders lead people, that's what leaders should be about. Managers have to manage resources. Most of the best leaders are also good managers because they have to think about those things. But that doesn't detract from the fact that they are the best leaders. And frankly, in today's world, and we've heard a lot about it today already, there would be nothing worse for your company if it was overmanaged and underled. And that's what happens to bad companies. They get overmanaged and overmanaged and overmanaged, and suddenly they realize they've lacked the leadership that's needed. So let's finish with the chunk of what do good leaders do. I always describe it as the 3 Ds, but you could probably think of other ways of describing it. But the first thing that leaders have to do is give direction. That's the D. And it starts with a vision. And if your company does not have a vision of where, and the head of the company knows where they're going from and to, if you don't have that vision, you will never be able to put together a plan to get from here to there. And that's what the good leaders do. They say what they want to look like in 5, 10, even 3 years' time. And then they do some strategic planning, of course, with their senior team, and they decide how they're going to get from here to that place in the period of time that they've decided. Otherwise, your vision is a dream. If you don't put a plan together to get there, you can dream all day about where the sunny uplands are, but you need to plan to get there. And finally, of course, because these aren't small things, the leader has to learn to delegate. Delegate is a huge part of what the senior leaders do. But don't confuse that with divesting yourself of responsibility. Responsibility can be delegated, should be delegated. But the moment you think you can divest yourself of that responsibility, you can't, because it comes back to rest with you. So, that's the first D, direct. The important thing about the analysis and the plan is that you then go and give direction to your people so that they understand what it is you want them to do to get your company from here to there in the time they've given you. So, direct. The second D is deliver. And this is the one I particularly like. A lot of people talked about it today already. Talk, no action. This is about action. What does a leader do? Bearing in mind, it's about people. The answer is they create the conditions for success. They create the conditions for every person in their organization to do their best, to produce their best, to do their bit of that plan and deliver that. And I think it was John Buchan, a Scotsman, never mind, who's an author and a politician many centuries ago, who said, leadership isn't about putting greatness in people. It's about eliciting greatness from them, because they've already got it inside them. And that's the approach I would highly recommend everybody to do. We've heard about the young in Uganda, particularly, and how many there are and how good they are. It's in them. All you've got to do is pull it out, create the conditions for them to be successful for your company. I suppose the two words, and this would have been, if you'd asked me what my definition of leadership is, the two words that you should be doing is inspiring and empowering. And the two go together. You inspire and empower your people to do well. That's what leaders do. And you generate the outcomes you want through doing just those two things. But of course, there's a bit more to it than that, and particularly at the senior level, the thing that sticks out that you have to do is make decisions, and particularly the difficult decisions, and make them in a timely manner. That's what leaders do. Yes, managers do that as well, of course they do, because they're managing resources. But when the chips are down and things are going wrong, it's to the leader they turn to make the decisions. And if you don't make your decisions in a timely manner, that's when your company goes down the tubes. And the third and final D is develop. Strange word, but it's about, for a start, setting the example. If you head up an organization and you're a bully, or you're particularly aggressive, or whatever, to get your ends, that's how your people will be. They will emulate you. They will copy you. They will think that's the way to do business. So you have to set the example from the top, and that's actually not just at work. That's when you're not at work as well. Because the headlines in the newspaper won't worry that you weren't at work when you did what you did. So you have to set the example. You have to train your people. You've got to train yourself. We're never too old to learn. In leadership, not just in management. Everybody goes on management courses. How many of you have been on a leadership course? 1. Well done. 2, 3. Suddenly remembered they went on a leadership course. You weren't at Sandhurst with me, were you? No. I read in Forbes once that 83% of companies believe they should have leadership training and development at every level. So the young all the way up through middle management up to the top. 5% have programs to do that. So only 5% of companies invest in leadership. And that's why a lot of companies fail. And finally, in the development world, you set the example, but the big word, and we've heard about corruption today and all sorts of things, the big word you should be concerned about is trust. Am I trustworthy? Do you have values? Does your company have values? Do you have standards? Do you have ethics? Those are the bailiwick of the leader. The leader sets the values for the company. The leader sets the standards people are to abide by and reach. And if you have values and ethics and standards, people will trust you. And if you don't, frankly, they probably won't. So, tomorrow morning when you're cleaning your teeth, look in the mirror. I'm going to suggest you ask yourself some questions. Firstly, do I have a vision of where my company is going? And have I explained that vision to all my people and explained to them what part they're going to play in that vision? Have I made all the decisions I need to make so that the company can run properly and can keep going even when disasters happen? And finally, am I and is my company trustworthy? And if you've answered yes to all those questions, then you'll be able to smile in the mirror and have a very good day. Thank you very much.
General Peter, for your words of encouragement. I was listening attentively and I was giving myself marks, and I know that each one of you who was in the room, you are doing the same. I may not proceed without recognizing the First Deputy Prime Minister from the Republic of Uganda, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, and my fellow ministers that are in the room, Honorable Mwebesa, Minister of Trade and Investment, and Honorable General David Muhoozi, who is the Minister of State for Internal Affairs. It's not my role to introduce the rest, but I recognize the team from Uganda. Thank you so much for joining me. I came all the way from Uganda to come and interact with you. And remember in the morning when Wille was introducing me, he said that I'm the most wanted person. Not in bad light, but because attracting investment these days rotates around almost 3 areas which are in the docket that I hold. This is petroleum, oil and gas, electricity and minerals. And when we are talking about energy transition, it is the critical minerals, it is the renewable energy. So I don't know how much time I have. Pardon? 10 good minutes. So those of you who have been here from morning, you heard from what the Deputy Governor of Uganda talked about. He mentioned the focus of the 4th National Development Plan for Uganda, about the ATMs, the agribusiness, tourism, science and technology, and mineral development, including oil and gas. All that rotates about sustainable and affordable electricity to spur agriculture for value addition, and also science and technology requires sustainable and affordable electricity. So in the energy sector, first of all, it is important to note that the Uganda's energy mix is comprised of renewable energy, clean energy. And this is the message I have been telling the world when we have been criticized about our petroleum resources development, because it is fossil fuel. And I've been asking them, you talk about energy transition, clean energy transition. In Uganda, we have only clean energy. So we want to expand it by making more investment. We don't have money, but we have resources. We discovered petroleum, commercial petroleum, in 2006, and we want to develop it to get money so that we can invest in the generation and transmission of renewable energy, hydropower, solar, geothermal, nuclear energy. It's only money that we've been lacking. To note that in Uganda, we only have 50 megawatt plant, which is a security plant, which is using HFO, heavy fuel oil. And it is on standby. When you need it, because it is a security plant, then you call for production. Otherwise, the rest of the source of electricity in Uganda is renewable, is hydropower. So on that path, we want more investment in power generation. Uganda's potential is not yet fully exploited in as far as generation of electricity is concerned. You've been hearing us talking about Karuma, the biggest hydropower plant, which we commissioned, 600 megawatts. Karuma. But that's not enough. We want to have a serious investor to come and pull off 840 megawatts of hydropower from Ayago. We want somebody to come and pull off power from Kiba, 400 megawatts. Hydro, clean. I think the cleanest source of power that I know of. Then 392 megawatts from Aryong. We want cheaper money so that we can make affordable electricity, so that we can power the industries with affordable electricity. And the president has directed me to reduce the tariff for industries to 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. That is good. Here where we are, I know power is expensive. About 25 US cents per kilowatt hour. But our president in the Republic of Uganda wants 5 US cents. And for extra large industries, as I speak now, we are at 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. So there are a lot of sources for exploitation of energy. And the background was given by Professor why you should invest in Uganda. The legal regime in electricity industry favors you. We have now opened for independent electricity generators. You generate your power, you sell it. We have opened the transmission segment to you. You construct the transmission line because power has to be transmitted, has to be evacuated from the plant. You can create, you can construct your own transmission line and you toll it. We pay you through the tariff. Our regulator has to regulate the kind of, money that you are going to invest in. Otherwise, we may end up again raising the cost of power because we know what it takes. Independent power transmitters are now being regulated. The regulations are out. Last mile connection is very critical. How can we talk about excess power in Uganda, yet we have villages and industries that do not have power? But now we are receiving many investors coming in Uganda to establish data centers because they heard that in Uganda we have excess power. This excess power is in quotes. It is excess because you've not been assisted to pull this power in your house or your business. So we need to invest in last mile connection. There is a company that had a 20-year-old concession to distribute power, Umeme, the known Umeme. The concession ended and Uganda's own company, Uganda Electricity Distribution Company, is now in charge. So what next? What do I want from you? You may ask me, what do you want us, how do you want UK to partner with you on this? Because last mile connection is the reason why we still talk about excess power in Uganda. Because we have not invested enough money in the distribution network in the country. So what I'm looking for now is a partner with Uganda Electricity Distribution Company to be able to manage the outages, power unreliability, which is happening now, where we have to inject more transformers to stabilize power. We have to work on the old distribution network. When it rains, and you know in Uganda we receive a lot of rain. When it rains, branches of trees fall on the lines, poles fall down, power cut. Then you have to rush and make sure that you rectify. So Uganda Electricity Distribution Company needs to partner with somebody. It is now a few months since they took over from Umeme. Since March 31st this year, when we did the big switch from Umeme to UEDCL. We have worked on the staff where we have gotten 94% of former Umeme staff into UEDCL. UEDCL has the license to distribute now. That is its worth. So the partnership will come. We need to construct these lines to the industries. Coffee processing industries. We need to pull power to them. So on power generation, transmission, and distribution, big deal. We need to partner together. On the generation, I told you the sources. We have potential for nuclear energy for peaceful use. Nuclear energy potential for Uganda is 24,000 megawatts. We are beginning with one in Buyende, and we expect to generate 8,400 megawatts of nuclear power, at least by 2031. So there is no excess power in Uganda. It is excess because the network for its distribution is not there. Let me cross to oil and gas. Only good news. And I want to thank my president who decided to invest into training of Ugandans. And those Ugandans discovered that Uganda has commercial oil. Ugandans. The Kalisas, Hanesti Rubondo, my PS Vatebe, and that team that the president took to study in Norway, in Stavanger, and other places. And they know what they are doing. And that's why we now ended up with these 2 development blocks that are going to develop the 270,000 barrels of crude oil every day. And 60,000 barrels out of that is going to be refined. That means we shall have an industrial park which is being developed. The refinery is being developed. That deal is no longer there. We already have a partner. We have a second international airport within the oil region. A second international airport that will facilitate even the movement of tourists, because where we have oil is a tourist area. Action Falls, it's a tourist area. We receive many tourists. So with a refinery in the area, an industrial park, which is going to take off what comes out of the refinery. A businessman or woman is looking at this as an opportunity. The gas that is going to come along, the associated gas that Professor talked about, some of which we shall use to power the East African crude oil pipeline that is going to carry the crude which is not going to be refined. Our oil is waxy, it needs heating. We've been tussling it out with the environmentalists, and we have proved that we can do this without being injurious to the environment, because the pipeline is insulated. 3 layers, and the insulation plant is in Tonga, in Tabora, in Sojo village, in Tanzania. That's where the insulation plant is. And we've started laying pipes. We've done like 57% of the East African crude oil pipeline. That attracted investment also. We shall be getting money from that crude. So the rest of the gas, you can use it to get ammonium nitrate, for example. I'm not shy to talk about the need for explosives. It is dangerous to import explosives. And you know that Uganda has minerals, all the minerals that the world needs. How do you extract the minerals without using explosives? Is it possible? Maybe there is technology that can do that. But what we are doing in Uganda, we need to blast. And so, from the oil and gas, we are going to facilitate the mining industry. You see that integration? By ammonium nitrate, you'll be able to get explosives, but you can also get fertilizers to increase production and productivity. Food is power. If Uganda didn't have food, I don't know how we would have survived the COVID-19. The whole country was locked down. People rushed to the villages and resorted to digging. The soils are fertile. Food is medicine. Food is power. Food is growth. From petroleum, we are expecting to get fertilizers. Mining sector is going to facilitate renewable energy. We need battery storage to be able to get the solar power so that we don't affect the stability of the grid. The national grid has capacity. So, the lithium batteries, the cobalt that we have, the copper that we have, all that can facilitate the other transition. And now we have, this is very important, we have the National Mining Company in place. This company is going to de-risk your project, because if you are going to be a large-scale miner, you are going to enter into the mineral production sharing agreement with the Uganda National Mining Company. Working with government is better. The law does not allow exportation of unprocessed minerals in Uganda, whether you like it or yes. It doesn't allow. So you are going to transfer knowledge to Ugandans. You are going to work with Ugandans and get the maximum value that we expect from the mineral resources. Let me pause now.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting to pose questions. I think you understand why we are number one in growth at the moment.
Hello, thank you. My name is Nikolai. I'm from McDonald. We've heard a lot about the energy transition and mineral extraction resources and the importance of exporting that. My question is, how do you go about speaking to other nearby countries on transportation and logistics? How do you make sure those minerals are exported via the right routes?
Thank you. Any more questions, members? Hands? Raise hands. Honourable, I know you are to the point, so I don't see any more questions, so please proceed with that one.
Thank you very much. Actually, wherever I have gone in international summits and conferences, I speak about Africa first. I am the spokesperson for Africa, and as far as extractives are concerned, we are working with our neighbors. On the energy side, we have the Eastern African Power Pool. Currently, I'm the chairperson of the Council of Ministers. We are 14 countries. We are constructing transmission lines to continue with trade in power. We sell power to Kenya, 60 megawatts. We sell power to Rwanda, 80 megawatts. And the transmission line, that side, has a capacity of increasing this to 100. We sell power to Tanzania. We have that relationship. We are constructing a transmission line into South Sudan in Juba, from Oruyo through Nimule, Juba, so that we can do the trade. But we will go up to Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is part of the Eastern African Power Pool. So we are working on the infrastructure together within the region. Then on the oil side, the East African crude oil pipeline is indeed an East African pipeline, because it starts from Uganda and ends in Tanzania, in Tanga. The largest stretch actually is in Tanzania. This is a 1,423 kilometer pipeline. Uganda has only 260 something 267 kilometers. But oil is coming from our refinery in Hoima. So we have an agreement, intergovernmental agreement with Tanzania. A new pipeline is coming. We are extending. This is now for the finished products that are coming into the country right now. We are going to construct a finished product pipeline from Eldoret to Kenya, and it will end up in Kigali. EKK pipeline. We are creating a network of collaboration. We want to survive. The spiritual leader has just reminded us that no country will survive alone. Africa is very important. For us in East Africa, under the leadership of General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is the champion of East African Federation, we speak Africa. And Pan-Africanism is part of the 4 principles of the National Resistance Movement, which is a party in leadership in Uganda. Pan-Africanism. Our borders are open. We welcome everybody. We don't look at your nose or your color. You just come and enjoy Uganda. I've prolonged the response because the docket is wide anyway. I am sorry, but I feel I should give you full package so that you walk out and end up in Entebbe, in Uganda, to come and invest. Thank you very much.
I think the 10 minutes is over, but it was brilliantly filled. Thank you very, very much. I spent a long time in the army, never being ambushed. I've been ambushed 3 times since I've been here this morning. And this guy here, whose wife is over there, and of course Willie and his entire family are working here, he's asked me to sum up, or at least finish off, this part of the session. And I suppose the best way of doing it is to say, what am I left with as someone who's completely outside? What am I left with knowing? The first is that there are enormous opportunities in particularly Uganda, because we hear a lot about it, but also in the rest of Africa. I mean, the feeling I get is that I wish I had a lot of money to invest, because that's where you should be investing. They have got the people, they have got the youth, they have got the resources. I just find it absolutely extraordinary that they are generating more electricity than they can use because they can't get it the last mile. Now, there must be companies here, and certainly all around the world, who would fall over themselves in setting up the infrastructure required to get the last mile done. So those of you who have come here to hear about Africa, Uganda, elsewhere, there are opportunities, and get together with them while you're here and talk through some of those opportunities, and then, if I may say so, get yourself out to Africa. Go and see it, and talk to people, and invest there. That's an outsider summing up.
Thank you. And there's a reason why I ambushed you, sir, because I am risking today. But thank you so much. You've done an amazing job.